Let's jump straight in. Day 62.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
By the time the people at home are watching this, it's been New Year's for a little bit.
Yeah.
But for us, it was yesterday.
Or today.
Yeah.
All right. It's been a bit since we played, since we had the holidays in between. So what was I doing?
Yeah, maybe have us look at your notes and figure out what you should be up to.
Fantastic idea. Okay, so I got one safe left. I've done a lot of the sanctum doors. Got 3 left. So I have to do the freezer, the diary, the vault. Okay, so we're still doing item stuff. So we need the vault. I actually did this. And did we open the box in the shrine? Yeah, we did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I look at... Oh, I don't have that tab open. Let's close some of these. We did take a look at a new clue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Thoroughly.
Yep. Okay, so as far as the sanctum doors goes, the vault, the throne room, and then I don't know where the 8th one is. Right, the last key is waiting behind the last door of 8. Okay, let's think about what that means again. The last key is waiting behind the last door of 8. Maybe it's like on rank 8 again, but it seems a little bit similar to the music room.
You ruled out the most obvious solution right away. It's not the last sanctum door.
Right. Huh. I don't know. Maybe we can try something on the rank 8, or like the 8th door I draft, or something like that. Okay, and then was there anything else, a new clue that was pending? So we got that.
So I was debating telling you this or not.
Okay.
But yes.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay, so I did Scorched Sundial Base. Oh, right. I still need the red prints. I need to get the nursery. Okay, so I didn't actually solve that. That's fine. By the time I get to the red prints, I'll totally remember how that puzzle works. Okay.
So just a few quick reminders.
Okay.
Because it's been a bit. There is still a book to be read in the library.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
it's a Blackbridge.
We want the tomb.
Oh, for the torches.
Indeed.
Got it. Well, look at that. Let's make sure we do that.
Also, I read one of our comments that I believe the shovel upgrade. Oh wow! Speak of the devil, the shovel upgrade that gives you more likelihood of keys and coins.
Right.
Makes it 4 times as likely to dig up a vault key.
Oh, okay. That's useful.
Which I had no idea. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm still cursed. Fuck.
Oh yeah.
Shit.
That'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, let's just get that. That's very expensive. Let's get some gems.
Can't take our money if we don't have any.
Exactly. Okay, can I build something with that? No, I can't. Okay. Let's go this way. Oof. Shouldn't have bought that key.
Yeah.
We can do the utility closet. Just go up. Nursery. Let's just go ahead and do this.
Yeah. Might as well get it out of the way while we're cursed.
Yeah. Okay. So I need to just take screenshots because I wasn't doing that before. So got page, I got red prints. Oh, what is this? Stop asking me to use AI in my notes. Okay.
Did you hear about the Game Awards drama?
With Expedition 33?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings on stuff like that, which is mainly when it comes to like did that? No, that was a weird screenshot. When it comes to like AI coding assists, like that kind of stuff, like you kind of, even if you don't like it, have to accept that that is part of the industry. And when you have stuff where it's like, well, that automatically disqualifies you. I mean, there has to be a line somewhere. Like if you're doing something where you're just like not, like you've replaced all of your artists like with AI, that seems like bad. If you're using like ChatGPT to write your emails, then like does that disqualify you? It's like that stuff doesn't like make sense.
And I think reading about it, it was mostly along the like former side of like, you know, they were using it for planning and stuff.
And that's
and
just
somebody
like part of
said
the
that
industry.
One of the first patches of the game had like a single newspaper clipping in it that was just like litter somewhere that was AI generated, and it was a placeholder that they meant to replace.
Yeah.
But hey, because they got disqualified, Blueprints won Indie Game of the Year.
There you go.
So
I'm sure he never touched AI while making this.
yeah, exactly.
Which, if he didn't, good for him. But it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Oops. Did I get all of them? Oh, this one. Okay. All right, now I have all of this, and okay, oh God, what am I doing? Red page A word X, which means 10 8. AX 10 8. Okay, so now we go into here. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Turn scorched sundial base. That makes sense. Sundial. Where have I seen one of those? Oh, hey.
Would be helpful if we weren't cursed.
Yeah, this run's gonna be a wash, but at least I got that. Okay. Keep an eye out for a sundial. I'm sure like once I've definitely seen one, it's just not, I can't think of where at this moment. Ooh, is there one outside? I mean, that's where they would be. Ignore that question. I'm gonna go look outside. I don't think there was one on this side.
While you're here, you could dip down and grab some gold.
Oh, yeah. Did I...
Nursery.
Oh, dead end. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And maintenance room
Yeah.
or whatever.
Nice. And I got dig spots. Just looking for more dig spots if I don't see them. Nice, nice. I feel like I don't usually see dig spots down here. It's kind of rare.
Yeah. I wonder how many there would be if you had the root cellar.
True.
Actually, that's not possible. Because it's an outside room.
True. That's a bird bath. Got excited. Maybe there was one. There's got to be one in one of the green rooms then. Maybe in the secret garden? Is there a sundial there? There might have been. I'll have to... Next time I get that key, I'll have to go for it. Scorched sundial base. Oh. Okay. Scorched sundial base. Yeah. None of this looks very scorched. Turn scorched sundial base. Surely I can pick that. Come on. Does this have a clue? No. Maybe? Wait, what is this? Gas line. Okay, yeah. To the orchard smudge pots. I feel like that's important somehow. Wait, what happens if I do this? Okay. That's going. It's not scorching it. This would... It's very up this game's alley for me to have to, like, switch these off after spending all that time trying to get them on. What is a smudge pot? What does this do?
It's flavoring the apples, obviously.
You know what? I believe you. Okay, so why'd I click on that? Where am I? Yeah, oh. Turn scorched sundial base. This has got to be it. What is that? Oh, it's just like a plank. Out of place. Weird. Shoddy workmanship. But Denny did it.
Agreed.
Nothing about this looks scorched. I think this might be something I have to return to. Should I leave that on? No. I don't know. I'm conflicted. I'll have to ruminate or ponder.
Oh. Good thinking.
Maybe there's another sundial somewhere. That one is very easily accessible. Okay, I guess I'll go this way. Yeah, we can go in the pantry. And then the bedroom. And perhaps security. Let's do this. Can set that up to high. Set that to unlocked. And then we're gonna do a whatchamacallit experiment. All right. Whew.
Well, aquariums are terrible when you're cursed.
Yes. So this one. And I don't know. I feel like there's an argument for any of these. Maybe a shop room. No. No. Let's do this one. Yeah. Okay.
I forget what the rarity is of that room.
Ooh. I don't think there's a sundial here. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, let's do this one. There it goes.
Yeah, nice.
Let's do a closet. Nice. Well, actually, not nice. 'Cause I don't need that.
Helpful if we get a bunch of items.
True.
There is gold on the table.
Oh. Wait, there is? Oh. Shouldn't that? Oh, no, yeah. Oh, yeah, because that's going to go instead of the tomb to there. That's so helpful.
Yeah, very cool.
Ooh. Let's do this.
Ooh, interesting.
I lost a shovel, motherfucker. Yeah. That's boring. I was just hoping for a bulky.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. It's not a bad spot for a passageway. Okay. I don't have a shovel anymore, so... shit. I don't know. Let's do this, I guess. Oh, right. It's like, how was that already dug? But... Alright, what are these again? So I could do... Get a bunch of keys or a bunch of gems? Let's think. Got a lockpick. Maybe we just do this? Nope. This then. Yeah. Sweet.
Nice.
Oh, no, this one. Nope. Okay. Let's do that. Actually, really wish I had some keys now.
Yeah.
Damn. I was hoping to fill it out. That's okay. Let's get some keys here. It's very useful.
And more gold in the conference room.
Yeah, let's actually go back there. What?
Yeah, you probably want to connect it up.
What do you mean? Like maybe go across?
And, yeah, because if you go through Lost and Found.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, okay. Do that. It's fine. Nice. No shovel. No sundial either. Ooh, that's perfect. Okay. I could technically... Could I go back to the laundry room and then get a bunch of keys?
I think it
that...
costs 10,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So probably good to get one or two more
Yeah.
dead ends first. Good idea, though. Oh, if Geist bedroom comes up again, we would get extra dice because we have the tomb.
Oh, right. Okay, experiment. Nice. It's this one, I guess. Don't really need that. Shit. That's fine. I can do this one. Oh, this red room's really hurt, though.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else about this room.
Yep.
What was it? Is it behind this, maybe?
According to that picture you saw.
Remind me where I saw that picture?
In the underground bunker. The station.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, here. Oh. Oh my god. Oh, right. What did that say? Shit.
You don't have it zoomed in, right?
No, not with the magnifying glass.
It says something like controls.
Hmm. Interesting. Ooh. Oh, each time? Wow.
Yep.
That's one I haven't been in. Or have I?
You have.
I have, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I have. Very nice. Very nice. Oh yeah. Gotta do it. Green memos and white boxes are always lies. Okay. I was keeping track of these somewhere. Treasure trove. Here it is. Green memos you find in this room will always be true. Green memos and white boxes are always lies. Wait. Contradict. Fuck.
Don't forget to note the box.
Oh yeah, fuck. Wait, so green memos and white boxes are always lies. So that one that I got before was in a white box. Oh boy. Okay. Drawing room again. Nice, nice. Okay, I think I needed this. I think I have the Black Bridge thing. Yep, yep. Okay, cool.
Lock in.
Yeah, let's actually take screenshots. I'll read it, then I'll take screenshots. How does that sound?
Yeah, I was gonna recommend that.
What is it called? The Curse of Black Bridge. Okay. Forward. The legends of Black Bridge is one. The legend of Black Bridge is one that's well known to the people of the Grand Realm, for versions of this tale have been passed down from generation to generation. With each new telling, the story has changed, becoming over the years more colorful, more verbose, and as one might expect, increasingly horrifying. However, with so many renditions and unique personal touches, the task of confining and binding this tale to text seemed an ambitious and impossible challenge. Over the course of my research, I have heard dozens of variations of the legend, and while the details would often change, I was surprised how much of the story's heart remained the same. Yet the more I listened, the clearer it became that there could never be a definitive version of this tale capable of capturing all the wonder and myth of Blackbridge. In the end, I chose to write down what felt most authentic, the story my grandmother told me as a boy long ago. Who's this by? Redford Ewing. Okay. Part 1, The Berry Picker from Oris. Oh boy, this is going to be long, isn't it?
Yep.
Many years ago, before peace had become a familiar word, there lived a group of rogues so wayward that the locals deemed it appropriate to call their number the Unholy Hounds. They were feral outlaws composed of society's worst in a time when society was at its worst, and for each crime that fearful travelers credited to the group, a dozen more lay unclaimed, each worse than the last. For the gentry, however, who often value their coffers more than their companions, no crime could measure more wicked than the group's primary enterprise, high road robbery. One such member of this so-called band of rogues was a boy of 13 years, Jesper, who had not been lucky in life, having lost two brothers to war and parents to famine. Wow. In the years of hunger that followed, Jesper lived in a gutter behind a churchyard, relying on the nourishment of scurrying bugs and weeds harvested from the cracks of the alleyway to sustain his pitiful existence. It is not surprising that a child aiming to escape such hardships would take it in any easy road out. An easy and well-traveled road, paved with temptations, leading out of the city and into the gentry lands, where loose purse strings entwined with the strands of salvation and glisten equally with the hope of opportunity. It was this road that eventually led Jesper to the end of his youth, a hidden cave at the bottom of Blackbridge Canyon. It was here that he met his surrogate family and saviors, that notorious gang of godless outlaws known as the Unholy Hounds. Despite the hardened circumstances that had led him to this vocation of banditry, Jesper was surprisingly tender-hearted and was often teased by the group for being too kind for such an ignoble life. For this reason, Jesper was assigned the innocent role of berry picker. It was not just innocence that set berry picking apart from the gang's more wicked undertakings, for it was the only duty performed without the safety of night's concealment. Jesper, no stranger to solitude, did not protest that he alone worked while the others slept soundly, tucked away in the cave at the bottom of Blackbridge Canyon. On one such occasion, Jesper decided to get an early start. He left the cave, berry basket in hand, and set out into the woods before the morning sun had even brushed against the tallest treetops. It was colder in the mornings, but the headway dawn afforded meant It was colder in the mornings, but the headway dawn afforded meant Jesper could reach the furthermost berry patches without worry of being chastised for tarrying upon his return. It took over 3 hours on foot to reach his destination, and along the way, Jesper had passed by many a familiar bush, all priorly pillaged and so bereft of berries that one would have to dedicate several moments in earnest examination before finding a single one. Jesper was patient, but even patience has its limits. He was confident that even accounting for the time lost to this long stretch of travel, his efforts would be well worth the pains. Surveying the patches in this new grove surprised even Jesper. The red dots suspended among the leaves seemed as numerous as stars in the skies. Upon seeing such a bounteous sight, he clutched his berry basket tightly and nearly toppled over out of joy. Once he had regained his senses, Jesper quickly made a decision. He would not reveal the location of this newfound treasure. Instead, he would earn the respect of his confederates, who, upon seeing his yield, might attribute the success to hard work. Smiling at his plan, Jesper set off to fill his basket and was making steady strides in this task when the sound of thundering hooves interrupted him. A carriage is approaching. The thought of it made Jesper freeze. Had he been so enchanted by his discovery that he had neglected to observe his surroundings? How could a roadway be so close? He ducked down and crept toward the impending sound, hiding behind one of the larger bushes nearby. It was only a moment more before the sound source revealed itself. Within 50 paces of where Jesper hid, an elegant carriage with gold trim came soaring around a corner of trees, led by 2 beautiful white horses and conveyed by a stern-looking driver seated atop the vehicle, flaunting the most sophisticated regalia Jesper had ever seen. It was not just any carriage, it was a royal carriage. Even without ever having witnessed such a sight before, Jesper was certain. And the sight had so transfixed Jesper that he stood awestruck, unable to tear away as the carriage approached. The little concealment the bush provided was soon proven unequal to the driver's lofty perch, and upon spotting the boy, he pulled the reins with such effect that the noble steed slid to a sudden halt with precise control. "You, boy, get out from behind that bush," he shouted with a rigidity that betrayed a modest amount of fear. "You startled me half to death, coming around the bend of my own drive and me seeing such an unfamiliar face in a place where they ought not to be any face." Jesper quickly contemplated running. The man was much older, and his dress was suitable for courtly behavior, not dashing through the bramble and mud. I was picking berries." Jesper raised the half-filled basket up to allow the driver to see the proof of his words. The demeanor of the man suddenly changed. It was a change that Jesper was familiar with. He had many times seen the same stern expressions on the most fiendish bandits melt away when presented with a berry basket. Any suspicions that the driver might have had instantly evaporated, for even the notion of a member of the unholy hounds picking berries seemed farcical. Farcical. The softened expression even made allowances for a smile. "Berries, eh? Say, you couldn't have picked a better spot for them, could you? I used to pick berries here as a boy." Jesper took his cue to finally step forward out from behind the bush, proudly brandishing his basket. "I know, and what luck I found them. I've only just begun picking, and look how many I have. It would have taken me fourfold the time back home to procure this number." The driver bent down for a closer look. "And where's your home, boy? It must be quite far." Jesper replied with a scripted response. A little south of Tanner Fork, just past the burnt woods. My God, that is far. You couldn't have come all that way only this morning. It was true. Tanner Fork was in the exact opposite direction that Jesper had traveled, and while that response would seem perfectly reasonable in a location closer to Blackbridge Canyon, he could see why it might seem less believable here. Sir, I have traveled much farther for much less profit. I dare say, there is no distance yet made by man that would not be worth undertaking for a prize such as these. Surely you have tasted them for yourself? Jesper felt happier with this response, as it seemed to amplify the man's smile. In my youth, often, but perhaps I took it for granted because I never had to travel very far, and even then my father would always drive us here in our carriage, so I'm ashamed I never had to walk such a stretch to earn an equal reward. It was Jesper's time to smile. Then let my efforts reward us both today. He raised the basket even higher. A taste in memory of your youth, sir. The driver chuckled and removed one glove, bending over the seat to reach down to the basket. And at the moment his fingers touched the first berry, the dagger in turn met his throat, cutting through a superficial layer of skin and drawing blood. Jesper caught the man's startled eyes. And for that taste, I will have your purse, sir, in memory of my youth. The driver's arm had gone stiff, his chin raised and trembling, more frightened than he had ever been before. Whether unable or incapable of speaking, he did not respond to the boy. Perhaps he did not think his jaw could afford to be engaged at this particular time. Jesper let the basket drop, freeing his other hand to probe the man's pockets. Do not mistake me, sir. I will not kill you if you give me no cause, though I will admit the thought of taking your carriage and leaving you the indignity of walking appeals to me. Unable to find a purse in the man's coat, Jesper pivoted to search the seat under him. Why have you no purse upon your person? The driver slowly raised his hand cautiously, pointing toward the carriage door behind him. Jesper lowered the knife's edge a small degree to allow the man to speak, which he did in turn, softly. There's a lockbox in the carriage. Well, come down then and grant me the courtesy of sparing your life and binding your hands, a concession I assure you of my tender heart, for it would be much easier to slit your throat. The man started to comply, slowly lowering himself from the driver's seat of the carriage. Once down, Jesper guided him away from the carriage to a nearby tree, where he instructed him to get on his knees and put his hands behind his back. Excuse me. Excusing his inexperience, the man indulged Jesper while he figured out how to adequately bind him. The smile and kindness Jesper had seen on this man's face, now nothing more than a distant memory. In their place, cold, dark eyes displaying no emotion. I wonder, should I grant you the same clemency you are showing me? Jesper stopped, surprised by the question, but ignored it, secured the final bindings, and then hastily returned to the carriage. With one hand on the door's handle, he turned back to the man. If there is no lockbox, there will be no clemency. Inside, the carriage was surprisingly dusty and unswept, a stark contrast to the elegant and polished golden facade of the exterior. It had apparently been many years since a passenger had enjoyed passage in this vehicle. This all but confirmed what Jesper had suspected. The driver of this carriage was not a liveried servant in the employ of some greater master, and curiosity that this observation might have further produced was quickly abandoned upon seeing what rested under the carriage's backseat, a large wooden lockbox. Despite its hefty appearance, the box was surprisingly easy to handle. Within a few minutes, Jesper had dislodged it from its hold and carried it out into the sunlight. Inspecting the box carefully, two observations were made. Totemic symbols found carved on all four sides of the box hinted that the box was very old and likely not created by Arindian hands. It reminded him of artifacts from the old world and was presumably crafted in one of the ancient realms. Whoa. Secondly, the box was secured by a rusted yet robust padlock and would not open easily without a key. Jesper looked over to see the driver quietly observing from his indentured position. Do you perhaps have a key you can provide me to open this box? Without emotion, the driver replied, There is no key to that box. Jesper stood up. Easy enough, then. He headed over to a nearby rock of sizable dimensions and lifted the stone up, carrying it back to the box. If there was ever a time when that lock had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. With one hit, the stone had completely shattered the rusted lock. He bent back down and opened the lid. Inside was an effigy, a crude figure chiseled from stone. Without too much deliberation, Jesper bent down and picked it up, somewhat surprised how heavy it seemed, given how light the box had felt. Having expected to find something more akin to gold or gems, he looked questioningly to the man, hoping to find an explanation. The driver smiled and once again returned. You are cursed, boy, for deadly is the stone. You have opened that which should never have been opened, and you are cursed. Hey, me too. Jesper carried the effigy over to the man and shoved it in front of his face. What is it? That's one. Feeling his disappointment rising to anger now, Jesper tightened his grip on the effigy. One what, you mumbling an agentor? And in God's name, why have you no purse upon your person? The man did not seem intimidated. 1 pace. He paused for effect. 12 more, and you will be dead. He only had a second to flinch before the effigy struck him in the head and put an end to his cryptic ramblings. If there was ever a time when the old man had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. 1 pace, 12 more, and you will be dead. Jesper looked down at the sculpted stone figure, now splattered red. Was it cursed? Was he cursed? He had, of course, heard stories of curses and had never doubted their validity in the past, but now that he was standing face to face with the possibility of being cursed, his mind pleaded with him to be skeptical. And if he was cursed, what difference would the knowledge make? A dozen more paces would not be enough to find another living soul, to say nothing of the chances of procuring a remedy. If he did not move from where he now stood, he could live maybe another 3 or 4 days, maybe more given the abundance of nearby berries. A plan that, if we ignore its obvious faults, might provide additional opportunities for help to come along. But what good would that do? To be discovered here, beside a body, stolen goods in hand, bloated from berries, and raving about a curse that could very well not be real. No, it would most certainly be better to face one fates now. Take a dozen paces and see if life goes on. Jesper found his legs unable to make that first step. His mind was unable to convince his limb to waste away 1/12 of his life in a single motion. Feeling the desperation sink in, he hopelessly looked about him for a solution. And if, by some stroke of luck, the gods had heard his plea, a miracle materialized before him, as if he found himself suddenly at the end of a fairy tale. 2 white horses and a carriage of golden trim were beside him, the answer to his immediate prayers. He laughed at his fortune and calculated the short number of paces back to the road. 4, perhaps only 3 if he jumped. He made a quick survey to see if there was anything he wished to grab before taking the plunge. He thought about removing the driver's fancy coat, as that appeared to be of some value, but the additional risk of undertaking such a task too great to chance. And so, after a profound breath, he took a second, third, and fourth steps, though they were quite large. Seated now behind the horses, he reached for the reins and suddenly realized that he was still gripping the effigy. If the curse was real, then it would most certainly be better left here. If, on the other hand, the story was fictitious, there might be some appraisal that could be made of the figure. It was, after all, found within a lockbox, whose typical function oft secures objects of value. Having witnessed firsthand the horrors of destitution, Jesper found his mind equally reluctant to allow his hand to let go. If it is cursed, I die. If not today, then tomorrow. And if I die, what care have I? And with that statement said aloud to the horses seemingly, Jesper took up the reins with confidence. Woo! Part 2. How many parts are there?
I think just 2.
Oh, just 2? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it. Let's see if the curse is real. Ooh. Miller awoke to some light nudging from a familiar foot. Only one person would have the cheek to awaken her in such ill-mannered fashion. Shaking the sleep from her eyes, she glared up at him in the darkness, but did not say a word. He nudged her again, teasingly, then stepped back into the dim. After taking a moment for her eyes to adjust to the darkness of the cave, Miller remembered. She was on 3rd watch today. Quietly collecting her things and wits, Miller turned as she left, waving to her young friend, who was more than likely already asleep. She crept through the cavern's main passage, careful to not wake the sleeping bandits around her. Like a hero in a book, she often mused. Quietly, she grabbed a bow from the haphazardly formed pile of weapons, shaking the accompanying quiver in the darkness to assess how many arrows it held. She then walked toward the sun-drenched mouth of the cavern, ready to start her shift. About her, in one of the few trees found in the canyon, Miller could see that Ravia was already posted. She waved, and Ravia waved back. Calling out to each other was strictly forbidden. Anything louder than a gesture in the canyon was forbidden. When Miller reached the tree, Ravia lowered a braided rope and pointed to the ground behind her. Miller turned, following the finger, and saw a pail of water resting beside a nearby log. She turned back to Ravia, nodded, and secured the pail to the rope. The pail went up first, and in turn, Miller followed. Ravia reached across to grab the water. Miller leaned back to give her space. There was not much room for maneuvering in this tree post, a necessary concession for the concealment the outpost demanded. Ravia tilted the pail up to her mouth dramatically, illustrating how thirsty she had been. Miller laughed silently as water poured out, splashing onto Ravia's face. It was a bit too daring and noisy of a joke, and had the others been around, they would have certainly been scolded for the unwarranted sound. But Miller appreciated the efforts Ravia took to verbalize the silence of the morning. They had been on third watch together for over a month, and during that speechless time, their friendship had grown into something special. Affection was surprisingly scarce among the unholy hounds. She had felt camaraderie before, of course, but intimacy never. From their elevated vantage, the girls could see both the concealed entrance of the cavern as well as a clear view of the bridge that spanned across the canyon. Black Bridge was the link between the Gentry lands and the northern mountains, the overpass that connected Orris and Reddington. To the city-faring travelers of the realm, the bridge was an unavoidable crossing. In the day, the task was to ensure that travelers pass by without stopping. At night, the task was to ensure that they do. Like most of her band, Miller preferred the night. The biting glare of the sun might be tolerable to farmhands and bricklayers, but to a cavern-housed bandit, it was a source of constant annoyance. In the day, there was no shroud to conceal her expressions, nor to hide her thoughts. She felt exposed. Ravia touched her elbow and pointed up. Miller, striving to suppress a budding smile, subtly shook her head in response. There were many signs that the unholy hounds used in lieu of words, but the two of them had developed an extended vocabulary. Gestures quietly forged in the shared solitude of their month among the branches. She watched as Ravia shifted, placing her palms flat on the floorboards beneath him. Miller knew what she was trying to say, but shook her head a second time. It was often more fun to pretend not to understand. Ravia rolled her eyes and turned away, looking back to the canyon. Squinting through the leaves, the two girls held still, watching and listening. It was not long until Miller, too, heard the sounds of approach. Ravia held up two bent fingers, and a few moments later 2 men emerged from the bridge's southern end. They were dressed in a familiar uniform, long gray coats with black facings, white waistcoats, and black tricorn hats. They belonged to the local patrol, the Black Guard. Although not an everyday occurrence, their presence at Blackbridge wasn't an unusual sight. It typically indicated an important traveler's impending passage across the bridge, information that the girls would promptly relay to their leaders as soon as the coast was clear. But this report, while exciting, was rarely acted upon. In Miller's 5 years in the Unholy Hounds, she had never once seen a carriage taken in open daylight when the Black Guard was nearby. The men had nearly reached the bridge's north end when Miller heard the horses, faintly at first, but growing louder with each passing moment. Ravia's eyes met Miller's, the same concern mirrored in each other's expression. This did not sound like the typical carriage, cautiously approaching the bridge to cross. Instead of the familiar crunch of the high road's gravel, they heard the harsh clattering of hoofbeats against stone. Both girls quickly redirected their attention downwards, looking through the foliage. Sounds were not coming from the high road, but from the canyon itself. The horses were coming from below the bridge. In an instant, Miller had knocked an arrow and drawn her bow. Go! Ravia was gone before the whisper had even left Miller's mouth. The young scout was already sliding down the bank below, racing toward the cave. There was no road that ran below the canyon. There was no reason for numerous horses to be approaching their cave. There was only one reasonable conclusion, and both girls had reached it instantly. The base had been compromised. This was a blackguard attack. The moment the horses came into view, Miller let loose her first arrow. She was surprised to see a carriage. She had expected cavalry. Before she even finished processing that thought, her second arrow was in the air. Without a trail, it would be unthinkable for a carriage to traverse such rough terrain, yet she watched as the wheels jolted over the rocky riverbed. A third arrow was now in flight, and there would be no need for a fourth. The driver slumped over just moments before the vehicle dipped into a small ditch, slamming into an embankment. The force of this sudden halt immediately shattered the front 2 wheels and catapulted the driver from his seat. Utterly confused now, Miller quickly glanced over his shoulder to see if any horses were also approaching from the rear. Down in the canyon, the entire horde of the unholy hounds came spilling forth from the earth as if hell itself had suddenly sprung open. The group seemed even more bewildered than Miller, half asleep and tripping over one another in a desperate attempt to engage an unseen enemy in combat. Miller could see Ravia among their number, the only one looking up at her. Her expression was chilling. There would be no need for a silent gesture to convey what they both now realized. They had made a mistake. The gang's chieftain, Jeffrey Heartslasher, led the others, cautiously approaching the crashed carriage like a suspicious fox would near a baited trap. There were no words exchanged as the group crept forward in customary silence. A dozen or so paces in front of the wreckage lay the far-flung driver, an arrow protruding from his broken body, and beside him a blood-stained effigy carved from stone. Miller was inconsolable. Jesper had always been her favorite. He had always shadowed her in the night, clinging to the hems of her every move, the way a child tails behind an older sibling. Tender-hearted, she had always called him, though deep down she... Tender-hearted, she had always called him, though deep down she had known that wasn't quite true. His appearance of gentleness concealed a raw, resilient durability that emerged in the most perilous of situations. He had been a flower among the nettles of this cave, but he still had thorns, honed by a grim past and 100 hands of misfortune. They buried him in the darkness, in the back of one of the larger cavern rooms. He was interred with a berry basket and a silk handkerchief that he had treasured. The mysterious effigy they had found beside him served as a distinguished gravestone, a marker that stood out as a somewhat special among the rows of similar swords marking neighboring plots. No one spoke, not even in whispers. There was nothing to say. Miller woke the next day to a thunderous shaking and rattling of the earth, a far cry from the playful nudging of the previous day. She strained to adjust her eyes, but the choking sting of stirred-up dust caused her to flinch. Panic was also in the air. The sounds of scurried footsteps and clattering feet filled the space around her, but even in alarm, the silence was louder. What was it that sounded so strange? Miller closed her eyes tight and used her feet to guide her along the passage. The whispers around her were getting louder, and intense voices could be heard ahead. Louder speech than she had ever heard spoken in the canyon. A growing dread grew as Miller approached the mouth of the cave, her eyes now open wide despite the dust. Shouldn't it be day? Miller felt a hand in the darkness pulling at her. It was Ravia. The two embraced, and Miller did not need to see her to understand. Ravia placed two bent fingers against Miller's cheek, and with that touch against her face, Miller felt the same sinking feeling from the previous day. Two bent fingers confirmed what Miller had suspected. The girls had forgotten to relay one critical piece of information to the others. An hour or so later, the screams began. Blood-curdling cries of hopeless desperation. Captain Fodrick Lee of the Blackguard looked down from the ridge of the canyon to the collapsed entrance of the cave. Ah, he grinned. Now they speak. The fuck? That's dark. Ooh, that was long. Okay. Yeah. There's a lot in here. So this kid found that he stole this effigy, and it told him that if he took 12 steps, he'd die. And then he got in the carriage to kind of get around that, and then tried to go home to this cavern full of bandits where no one spoke. And then he got shot, perhaps because of the curse. And then some blackguards buried them all alive. Fuck. Okay. I'm sure there's some very important information in here somewhere. All right.
Anything sticking out to you as relevant?
Perhaps something. The berry picking seems relevant somehow. Unholy hounds. Don't think the names were too familiar. The location.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably like here. Like it could actually be like the Black Bridge Grotto. I don't know, nothing that's like super relevant. That isn't what the whatchamacallit, the cursed box that I opened in the crypt, is that what that looked like?
It was, yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Do you remember what happened when you opened it?
I got a curse. Was there something else that happened?
There was something in the box. And,
Oh, was it the effigy?
uh-huh.
Oh, okay, okay. There you
Also
go.
of note is that the box couldn't be opened with a key.
Oh, right. Yeah. It was bludgeoned open just like this.
Yep.
You guys probably can't see what I'm doing. I'm taking a screenshot of each one of these. So I've learned my lesson. All right. We did it. Okay, and then I guess I need to drag these into my notes real quick before I forget. Here they are. And drag. Oops, drag those to the wrong spot. Uh-oh. Oh no. Can I undo? Come on. Come on. Please. Come on, Notion. So you can see what I'm seeing.
That would happen with the longest possible book.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's working. Undo. There it goes. Okay, so now drag it there. There we go. Okay. And I got the title page. Yeah. Okay, let me take another sip of water. Okay. Where am I? Let's go this way.